Hi, guys. This is Doug. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And you're listening to What's the Hazard? It is March 31st, the last day of March, I think. I got up this morning, 65 degrees and sunny, and I turned on the news, and it's a first alert weather day. Apparently, this afternoon, we're having a snowstorm or something. So
High winds.
high winds. Okay. That means the snowstorm is being blown our direction, apparently, or something. Crazy.
I don't know.
My wife said, you can wear shorts today.
Well, it depends on who you listen to, because I heard snow from one forecaster, and then I heard, we're too far south for that. But you never know.
You never know.
It's their best guess.
It is their best guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we all missed the boat on the jobs because, I mean, in safety, you can't be wrong.
Right.
Because people's lives are in stake.
And in the weather forecasting business, you can't be right.
They can't be right. They miss the call all the time. And,
That's a great point, man. We get paid much less to have to be much more certain.
Exactly.
Anyway, hey, welcome everybody. I hope you've had a great week. I'm really excited about today's episode. I was actually smiling on my drive in this morning. I had been looking forward to this. We have a special sponsor, the ASSP, Great Plains chapter, the American Society of Safety Professionals. For those of you that are old, it used to be the engineers, but we ditched the engineers and just.
And it still comes out every once in a while for me, ASSE.
I've heard you say that a few times, John.
So
my guest today, fantastic. My guest today, John Hauser, who is the president of the Great Plains chapter.
Yes, for another few months.
For a few more months. Do we have a president-elect? Or are we in the
election will be
process?
this April. So
Fantastic.
April meeting. Yeah.
Okay. So we are, and what's your name again? And my dear friend, I'm kidding. My dear friend, Rob Lucky. We have known each other for a long time. We've been doing this for quite a long time together, even though you allege to be much younger than me. I don't know how that works.
I started early.
Yeah, you started very young. That's right. Rob is the senior sales manager, regional sales manager. You've been with Fall Tech now.
Coming up on 10 years.
10 years. I noticed it's interesting because the year that I left OSHA was the year that you went to Fall Tech. I don't know if that had something to do with it.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I was with Miller for 15 years.
You've been with Miller for quite a long time. I mean, you are a mainstay in this area safety community, man. We've been coming to you for fall protection information for a long time. So, So we are here to promote the ASSP. You've been a member of ASSP for 50 years. Or
not yet. I don't know that I'll survive that long, but it's been about 42 years.
42 years.
Yep.
Amazing. Yep. And this a very active chapter. I've been in and out of the ASSP over the years. So when I was with OSHA, I would come and speak to the ASSP group pretty regularly. It was ASSE at the time. And then I've been a member, not a member, been a member. I'm going to be a member again. And I think we're going to talk about ASSP, the chapter, the organization as a whole, its mission, what we do, but the website is fantastic.
Right.
I was on the website this morning. If you are not a member of ASSP, I strongly encourage you, and even if you're not in the Great Plains area, find your local chapter. The website is fantastic. The resources that are available on the website, fantastic. The quality of people in the group, fantastic. No, I mean this in all seriousness, man. It looks, I'm a huge believer in network. And that is the only way that I've survived as a safety professional, as a consultant, is the network.
I agree. One of the things that I've done over the years, and I really stuck with it because it's the networking, it's finding people that are willing to give you information, advice, and I like learning. I find one of the most exciting things is when we have other people come. And I've been to several of your presentations when you came. Yeah, well, no, it's great to learn, and plus you get to know people that are doing stuff not only on the enforcement side. So it was great because you could ask questions, and it wasn't like everybody's always afraid to ask OSHA questions. And from that, I learned, I was able to call and say, hey, we have this thing going on. What do you think? I've got all kinds of people in the network and that I can do that with, and it's great. And that's one of the main reasons I've also stuck with it, because every time I go somewhere, every time I go to a meeting, I pick something else up new. Mm-hmm. Rob came and did a presentation last month on the new standards for fall protection. And it's not something that I deal with daily, but it's nice to know because every once in a while you get something comes up and you at least know who to contact.
Right. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah. Rob came in, he was gracious enough between trips to wherever you go, where there's obviously sunshine.
Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth, most recently, sunny in Duluth, I've heard.
24 inches of snow when I landed.
Oh my God.
And then they had another 20. Yeah, they're just being bombarded up there.
So the fall
snow.
protection then is just to keep from suffocating or engulfment in snow up there, probably.
More confined space. Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you are going to talk about these new ANSI standards related to fall protection. Give us just a little insight into that. One of the reasons we also brought you along today was just as kind of a teaser, because as you said, you came and spoke to the ASSP chapter last month and did a review of this new information in more detail than we'll have time for today. And so this is part of the appeal of the chapter.
And this next month's meeting will be virtual. Yeah, it's going to be a presentation on the CSP, ASP study courses.
Oh, nice.
Those are great steps to take if you want to advance your career.
Absolutely.
And it'll be virtual. Information's on our website. It's greatplains.ASSP.org, and there's no space in between Great Plains.
Okay, fantastic. And say that one more time.
greatplains.ASSP.org.
Okay, fantastic. That's the website?
That's the website, and the event information's there, and you can register there too. So
I know that I have just Googled ASSP Great Plains, and it'll get me to the website. And as I said, the website is fantastic. And I've been referring people to the organization and the website for quite a long time because the job postings are fantastic.
It's another service that they provide.
That's a great service. And you guys do a really good job with that.
And it's not a good for the companies to find qualified people, but it's great for somebody that's looking for advancement or just needs a change. So
absolutely. Yeah, I do like that. So let's talk just a little bit about the organization. This is a global entity, right? The ASSP is huge.
There's chapters all over the world. They're based out of Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
But they do have chapters all over the world. So.
And what does the Great Plains chapter entail? Who is part of that?
So our region, our territory, you can join any chapter. So if, for example, you work here and most of your business is in another part of the country, you can join one of the local chapters there. Our region covers all of the state of Nebraska, so we have a little large territory there, and the western 2/3 tiers of county in Iowa. So we don't go as far as Des Moines, but just the two counties in the western part of Iowa. So
which is pretty popular.
And if you're not sure if you're listening, you're not sure what chapter you belong to, you can go to the ASSP website and just say you want to be a member, and they'll hook you up with the right chapter.
Okay, so do you need to then? So for those of us that are going to join, and I'm assuming that's all the listeners. So those of us that are going to join, do you join the national first, and then the affiliate local chapter, or how does that work?
So you have to join the national. I think right now the dues are $180.
Okay, for a year.
For a year, and then the chapter dues are, I want to say, $25 per year.
Okay,
and that, I think that depends on which chapter. I think ours are $25 a year. I haven't joined for a while, so but I do
As
renew.
An officer?
Yeah, I do renew, and it's just all bundled into one.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many members are we talking about in this?
I want to, last time I looked, I want to say it's 140 to 150.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That's a great size.
It is. It's nice that we've been able to do some stuff virtually because, our meetings for the most part have been in Omaha. At one time they had a section in Lincoln, but our meetings have been in Omaha. And, it's hard for people. We have members out western Nebraska, Grand Island, North Platte, and Scottsbluff, and it's hard for them to attend meetings. So the virtual option, which COVID kind of forced us to do that. So has been great.
That is terrific. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I've always felt, I don't know, sorry, that's not right, but it's always been difficult for people that are outliers or they're out west to be participants in these kind of things. And I've always felt bad for them. Some of those local communities have attempted to have their own little safety and health councils, but they just don't get the quality of speakers and the variety of speakers and those types of things.
Exactly.
So having that option to attend virtually or come into Omaha periodically if they're able.
Right. I still want to put a push in for the live events, the in-person, because that's where you really get to do the face by face and you get to know people, other than a little square on a Zoom screen or something. Right. So
yeah, that's an important part of this. We all had to do that virtual thing for a while.
Oh yeah.
I didn't love it. I am a face-to-face person. I much prefer that. And so it's nice that both options exist at this point. You can come in and attend when you're able. You can do the virtual and still get the information if you're not able. So having that mix, or whatever you
Right.
call that, the hybrid
Yes.
type of
Yep.
meeting opportunity is really good.
Mhm.
I think that's terrific. So just give me an idea of some of the topics that we've covered, if you can recall, over the last year. Anything interesting that really resonated with you that you thought was
Oh,
really?
you're putting me on the spot.
I know it's so, but I know there's
But,
always
I mean,
there's always an OSHA component. I
Right.
know that there's always someone talking about OSHA.
right.
There's a lot of legal people. You have attorneys coming in talking about
Some
legal
workers
aspects.
comp stuff. We've also had, even though we're not industrial hygiene, we kind of work hand in hand with local AIHA
That's right.
chapter,
hmm
and they sometimes invite us to their meetings. We
Mhm.
invite them to ours. So there's those types of things. But we've had topics on ergonomics. One of my favorite things, and we've got one coming up in June, are the plant tours.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
going out in the field, I remember in the days. I'm dating myself. Western Electric, which is
My father worked for
Yeah.
Western Electric.
we had they had 2 tours over the years there, and it was just amazing operation. They
It
had
was an amazing plant.
great safety group, and
Mhm.
really serious and dedicated to making sure that
Yeah.
everything was right. So
Yeah.
that was one.
Plant tours are awesome.
Yeah.
I've been in hundreds of facilities, and I still love plant
Yep.
tours.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
It gets you out, and you start seeing what challenges other people have, and how
Mhm.
they've solved them too. So that's the
Right.
other thing that's
We're
great.
not alone. Sometimes you feel isolated as a safety person,
Exactly.
particularly if you're a facility safety person. You think, I'm the only one that has to deal with this insanity.
Yeah.
And then these opportunities let you realize that you're not alone, and that's why
Right.
the network is so important.
Yep. And I mean, several years ago, the hospital safety officers, because I'm with the med center, and I don't have much to do with the hospital now. I'm on the university side, but the hospital safety officers formed kind of a group so we could get together, share information about policies and other things, and that was great too. That networking, you just can't,
You cannot
yeah.
put a dollar amount on
Exactly.
how valuable that is.
Exactly. So I find I share whatever I can, and others do the same thing. So
Mhm.
yes.
And so you're actually a member
I am.
of the ASSP,
Mhm.
but are you a member of, like, I know you travel all over the country, man. So are you a member of different chapters, or are you an affiliate with the Great Plains chapter, or what's your?
We are becoming part of the Great Plains
Nice, but you've just been a national.
national member, because I've
ASSP.
spoken at the national
I was going to say, yeah,
conference before.
Right.
The Hawkeye chapter over in Iowa,
Mhm.
the Quad City chapter, Kansas chapter. I mean,
Yeah.
all over.
But you've been doing this for so long, man. Everybody knows you. Everybody
Yep.
knows who you are. So, do you select your chapter memberships based on, like, location of golf courses, or how is it exactly?
try to.
So,
First
what is
question
your territory?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I asked John during the presentation there. I said, "So when is the ASSP Great Plains golf outing?" And Doris is like, "We need to do that." And
Right.
I when we left there, I didn't get home, and I already had an email. We're looking at a golf tournament. Let's vote on this. And
Right.
so I haven't even joined their group yet, and I'm already starting.
You're probably coordinating this,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
You're going to
trying
be
to-
the ambassador.
I'm trying to stir that up a little
So
bit.
just remember, it's an outing. It's not a tournament, because we don't want to have winners and losers. Just have fun.
Right.
Okay, John, we'll talk about that all
Right.
after this session.
Everybody can get a participation ribbon, but damn it, there's going to be a winner.
Exactly.
And it's going to be me, right? I mean,
I've already got my scorecard filled out.
I
Well,
totally, absolutely, man. But again, I mean, it's a networking opportunity. Those types of events where you let your guard down a little bit. It's almost like the luncheons
Mhm.
where you're not at work. I think meetings that take place in the work environment are different than meetings that take place at a neutral location or out on the golf course, and you really get to know people better.
Yes.
Those are unique opportunities, particularly in this day and age of virtual meetings and things. So I think those are really invaluable, and I love doing that.
It's a lot more relaxed. People let their
Absolutely.
guard down a little bit, and they just out there to have some fun.
You get to know them better.
Exactly. And it's funny, because one of my counterparts who worked with me at Miller now works with me at Fall Tech. He's on LinkedIn all the time, and I don't know, he's down in Louisiana, and so their ASSP chapter down there, I don't know what they're doing, if they're stronger, but every time he posts, he's either at a golf outing
an ASSP event of some
exactly.
sort.
A trap shoot, a fishing event,
Yeah.
a chili cook-off, or a barbecue.
Nice.
And I was like, so do we work at all? Or
All great things. Though. He just networks professionally.
He does very well with them, and he's not a golfer, but loves the trap shooting. But he's an amazing cook, and so he's always involved in the barbecue. And and that's something again down south. The weather down there, obviously, we have quite a few months that
right.
A little more conducive to golf outings.
Exactly.
Other than the 2 months a year we get to go golfing.
We could have a snow shoveling event. And by the way, I don't golf, and that's for the safety of others. Because when I hit balls back in high school, they go this way, behind me, everywhere else, and so I just don't golf for the safety of others.
But you can drive a cart.
I drive a cart, and I can fetch beverages for people too. So
absolutely. Everybody can participate.
So I volunteered to be one of the helpers.
Well, this is interesting because I have a new friend, a guy that I met at a conference in Des Moines, maybe 6 months to a year ago, Pete Suska, and he is an operational excellence safety consultant, process consultant out in Connecticut. And he wrote a series of articles for the Connecticut chapter of the ASSP that were really fascinating. I mean, and so he and I have been doing podcast episodes periodically discussing some of the information he put in these articles about, this is more than just about safety when we're really honing in on culture and process and these things. Sometimes safety issues manifest themselves as the problem, but it's about more than it's about the process. It's about the company and culture. And I would love to, I'm not put on you on the spot, but that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It is my intention to get him to Omaha sometime this summer, probably on my dime, which is fine, and get him in front of a number of different audiences. And the local ASSP chapter would be a great one if we can coordinate that, because I'd love to get him in front of some of my colleagues and some of my clients. But, the ASSP, I'm sure that you guys do interact. You interact to some degree with some of the other chapters periodically.
Oh, yeah.
As you mentioned, the AIHA, that's how I got involved. I was in the AIHA here, and then we kind of merged or coalesced or something.
Well, they did some joint stuff together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I didn't like safety people till I started hanging out with you guys.
Well, we put on pants the same way you do.
Like same way IHs do? I'll bet you don't. You ever met any IHs? No, they don't put their pants on the same way normal people do. That's fantastic. So what do we got coming up? What do we have? Anything?
So we have the meeting, the prep meeting
discussion.
And then in May, Doris Burns has arranged the ASTM committee members to talk about flash protection, arch flash, and those types of things, and the clothing, the PPEs associated with that. So
that's a really interesting topic. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. Arc flash, FR.
Yep.
There are different ratings for different applications, and it's much more complicated than people give it credit.
Not just putting a piece of clothing with a sticker on it that says, because you need to know what the person's doing and how much the potential is there for.
That'll be interesting.
So well, and then of course in June we have that plant tour of I'm trying to Kloss.
Oh, that's a beautiful plant.
Yeah. It is
a really interesting plant. They're one of my clients, and that is an interesting facility.
Yep.
Oh, this is fantastic. And so let's talk a little bit about this fall protection stuff.
Okay.
So
what stuff do you want to talk about?
Well, as you guys had mentioned, ANSI, there's some new ANSI standards that are coming out that will either take effect or I don't know how you refer to an ANSI standard. Do they take effect or they go into effect?
They go into effect
in August or something, right? And they're changing some things.
It's actually this is for SRLs. This is the first time
for people that don't know what that is, give me those acronyms.
Self-retracting lifeline, retractables,
the retractables, yes,
blocks, whatever you want to call them, and so really what this is going to is we're trying to categorize how SRLs are used.
Okay,
and one of the biggest things, and especially in the construction world nowadays, is leading edge. And
big deal.
And a lot of our companies, probably 99% of our companies, we have a lot of misuse with our retractables, and in fact, fall protection in general. And just like when I start all my meetings, I talk about fall protection. Nobody likes this stuff. I work for an industry that, people don't like safety people, but then they really hate the fall protection guy.
Right.
And I always tell people that, if you ever talk to somebody, say, who likes wearing fall protection, and somebody raises their hand, I always make the comment and joke about, well, that's why we have drug testing. Because no normal person likes to wear this stuff unless we have an incident where somebody would fall, and
and then they're incredibly grateful that they were.
Then they become our best advertising.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And so, but with the SRLs, so it's Z359 years ago used to be Z359.1, and that really encompassed fall protection.
Okay.
And now the ANSI committee, which is made up of safety professionals, manufacturing safety professionals, and even insurance safety professionals, and they all come together. And then when they write these specs, a lot of times end users, when we start talking about the new products coming out, the new standards, we get the comments, oh, manufacturers are just doing this to sell us new stuff.
Sure.
Which is completely wrong.
Right.
It's a benefit, but it's completely wrong.
Sure.
It's fall protection, just like safety in general, is an evolution.
Just continuously.
It's continuously improving.
Yeah.
And years ago, back in the 70s, you guys probably remember the 70s better than I did.
I remember the 70s. John?
I had to throw that one out at you. But,
Yep.
when OSHA was actually born or created, fall protection wasn't anything. Actually, Bob Miller is one of the ones that started fall protection, and it was a belt and a rope.
Mm-hmm.
And, then we've gone to harnesses and lanyards, and now we're still seeing fall clearances. People still hitting the ground when they're connected with a 6-foot lanyard. And so a lot of people have gone to SRLs or SRLPs, which is for personal.
Okay.
And so what we're doing with the .14, which if you ever go onto the ANSI website or look up ANSI for fall protection, Z359, and then it will be .1 through .18, and then it has different classifications. Under the .14, that's SRLs now. And so the new 3 classifications that we're really honing in on is we're going away from the LE, which stands for leading edge. And you may have heard in the past Class A and Class B for fall protection. Well, all that has to do with is Class A and Class B is for overhead use only. And in a manufacturing plant like Kloss, overhead is really pretty easy to do with the beams and the structures they have. But when we get into construction sites, half the time they're tying off behind them on the deck or right at their feet.
At their feet, maybe.
Exactly. And so leading edge really comes into play.
I gotcha.
And
what is the concern about leading edge work for people that are maybe not familiar with that?
So leading edge is where that cable can come in contact with that edge.
Exactly.
And so as a manufacturer, the test we have to do, we have to use a 0.005 piece of steel. It's basically a shave. You can shave with it.
It's like a razor blade, man.
Like Doug didn't used to be.
Well, this is like 3 months worth of work, baby.
Is that what it is?
Don't disparage the beard.
And so when we do that test, we actually will drop and it will swing for 2 minutes back and forth to that steel cable. And then they do a static pull on it and that cable cannot snap.
Interesting.
And so one of the stories I always tell, there's various stories across the country, and I'm sure both of you will remember this. I still tell everybody leading edge was really created here in Omaha when we were building the Quest Center or the CHI or whatever the name of the facility.
I don't know what it is now.
Exactly. But the big thing was, I don't know if you remember, there was a gentleman working for a steel erector company and he was bumped and he fell off and then his cable came in contact with the steel and he swung and then it snapped. Well, at that time, everybody was using standard retractables, 3/16 cable. And so it basically sliced that cable and he fell. And unfortunately, the gentleman became a quadriplegic. When all that
he fell like 28 feet to the ground.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was with OSHA at the time.
Exactly. You were. And if you remember, luckily he survived that. Unfortunately, he became a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, he was only inches away from pipes coming up and electrical work that, could have been
bundles of rebar and piping and stuff that were sticking up out of the ground. And he fell between a couple of these different.
Exactly.
It was horrifying.
And so when all this went to court, basically the long and the short was an engineer from this manufacturer was asked, is this an issue in the construction world? And they said, yeah, nobody has really addressed it at this time. And I believe the gentleman was awarded $22 million. And so he told the engineer, we'll give you 22 million reasons to start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we really started looking at leading edge. And there are a lot of manufacturers out there. Here's one of your quizzes for the day. Any idea here in the U.S. how many fall protection companies there are companies that are selling fall protection as manufacturers here in the U.S.?
You mean that's manufactured here in the U.S.,
Well,
right?
not manufactured in the U.S., but selling in the
Oh.
U.S.
I have no
And we
idea.
talked about,
I know, and I didn't remember. I didn't know there was going to be a quiz.
you weren't taking notes.
I don't have any idea.
So, believe it or not, there's 74 fall protection companies that
Selling fall protection in the
Yeah.
United States.
And so we're at Fall Tech. One of the things I'm extremely proud of is we're a very transparent company, and so we manufacture here in the U.S. I'm still trying to get management to see my sense of humor because I really want.
Good luck with that.
Exactly. Well, you know me all this long.
Yeah, I've known you too long for that.
And you still say friends. So, but one of the things is we're manufactured in Compton, California.
Mhm.
So I really want T-shirts saying Fall Tech straight out of Compton. Yeah. And so,
I love that.
but it's funny. Was just at doing this train for a group, and actually, Kelvin was the one who brought this up, Kelvin Thurman, and he was like, "Well, are you gonna get it in red or blue? Because you got the two big
Oh
gangs
my
out
God,
there."
yeah.
I said, "We're gonna have 3 gangs now. You're gonna have the red, the blue, and the high vis.
Right.
We'll be the high vis.
The high vis yellow.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And so, but out there's roughly 74 fall protection companies that have come in. There's only about 4 or 5 that are actually manufactured here in the U.S. And some of the larger ones are now starting to move their stuff down to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Fall Tech, it's 85% of it's manufactured. It's all engineered and assembled here in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge.
That is cool.
And where a lot of the stuff is coming in from China, Taiwan, overseas. And if there's a recall or an issue, these companies that are saying that they're fall protection manufacturers are just actually wholesalers or private labels. So we always say that buyers beware is really,
and how many of those companies are actually providing leading it? So the new categories, this new ANSI will recategorize
Yep.
the leading edge
the .14
tested
Yep.
versus the overhead. And they are distinguished, right? They're different.
So what we've done is Class A and Class B is actually going away.
Okay.
Because that's always only been overhead.
I remember that.
And that just had to do with what the payout was. Like Class A is 24 inches out of the housing.
Right.
And then Class B is 54 inches.
54. Okay.
And so that's all going away. Now it's 42 across the board.
42 inches.
Yes, sir. And now we're going to Class 1, Class 2.
Okay.
And Class 1, the easiest way to remember Class 1 is up. And
Class 1 is up.
Yep.
So
and
overhead.
It's basically you can connect to your dorsal D-ring in the back, and it's above you.
It's got to be above your head.
Yep. Or above your D-ring.
Above your D-ring.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Class 2 is the same as Class 1, but all the way down to foot level.
Oh, okay.
So basically, especially in the construction world, what we see is almost all construction people will be using Class 2 because.
And so why does Class 1 exist? I mean, why do we even have a Class 1? Why do we allow for that confusion? Is it it's different material, I'm assuming, so that it doesn't necessarily meet that cut test.
Correct.
That shear test, whatever that one is for Class 2. Is it then lighter, or is it can you get more payout if you need longer? Or why do we even have 2 different
Class
classes?
1. So when you look at a lot of manufacturing facilities, and I'll just use Claw since that's the next tour, is they have all the beams and structures above them, and so their workers have really a controlled.
It'll always be overhead.
Controlled environment.
Yeah,
is what we like to say. And where with construction, every minute of their day changes.
Right.
And so the biggest confusion is right now a lot of construction companies out there may have a mix of leading edge units and basically overhead units. And if all of a sudden you call up one of your workers and say, "Hey, I need you on this job site," and they come in and grab a retractable and they connect overhead, perfect. Then in the afternoon, they're going out and they're tying off at the deck and they have that leading edge potential. Well, now they're in compliance. And most of our workers, if you're that really good safety person that your people will follow everything you say, would come back to the shop and get what they need.
Right.
But most of them won't.
Never happened. No.
I don't plan on following.
The shortcut. Yeah. It's
Right.
not going to happen to me.
Not going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And the other big thing is,
I'm sorry
to answer the other big thing is the class 2 will be a little bit heavier in the cables.
Okay,
because we use a 7/32 cable, which is thicker and a little more abrasion resistance for that class 2 test.
Okay.
Class 1 will still be a 3/16 is what we've historically used.
Gotcha. Understood. So what you're saying then is most construction companies will need to buy class 2 so that there's no decision making. Yep. I don't want the employee to have to decide this is a class 1, this is a class 2 activity.
Exactly.
But if you go into a facility like class where we're going to anchor this permanently and then you're just going to retrieve it when you need it, you can put class 1s in there because there's no chance for the employee to make a mistake.
Yep.
I love that. Okay, I get it.
Cheap insurance.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Just trying to.
That makes sense to me.
Again, it's just kind of the evolution of fall protection that it's actually we're trying to take the guesswork out.
Absolutely.
And believe it or not, one of the new tests out there, one of the jobs I think I'm overqualified for is the misuse test. Is one of the things that really is neat out at our plant. There's only 4 other manufacturers here in the U.S. that actually have this facility, but it's at what we call a 17025 test lab. And every male has that 8-year-old mentality, right. and I know your wife, Doug. And so I've heard her say many times, Doug, grow up.
Elementary school teacher.
Exactly. And that's never going to happen. But it's funny with the safety professionals, with the construction professionals that we deal with, some of them can have masters and PhDs and all that. One of our engineers who designed our new retractable said, we should put almost indestructible on our housing. Then all of a sudden you get this very logical, smart person going, that's a challenge. and construction people just love to beat up.
They love a challenge, man.
Exactly. This isn't going to do what it says.
No doubt.
And so we actually have 2 guys that every day when they wake up, they, like you were smiling coming in today, that's what they do. They get to go into this lab every day and they get to do all the ANSI testing.
Try to destroy your equipment.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they get paid to do that.
And they get paid for it. That is fantastic.
Heck, I would probably do it for free.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
I don't want my boss to know that now. But no.
It does sound. It's pretty impressive though, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing. That's important work. That's good.
And the important thing is what I always recommend is there's a lot of great manufacturing companies out there, but with fall protection especially, there's so many safety products out there. And like with ASSP, one reason we're associated with the ASSP is because, most of us, and as long as I've been doing this, people actually consider me a safety professional like you guys. But
John.
Okay,
just humor him.
Oh, look.
No, we're with you totally, man. But you know this stuff's better than
but yet you
both
keep
of us combined.
And but
we keep calling.
But what's funny is, so I tell everybody, I know fall protection pretty much inside and out. You just made the comment, you know very little about it. And so, like with the associations of ASSP, we're the kind of company that helps guide through that part of safety. And same with some of my counterparts that do the arc flash. There are a lot of things you cannot be an expert in everything. And I tell everybody, if you ever want to go to sleep quick, to start reading the 1910 or 1926 and
you won't need Ambien if you do that.
Exactly.
I was gonna say one of the things I learned from his presentation is you can't do one of the self-retractings and tie it off so that you have access to it later on, because that can cause problems with a memory or some others. Is that not true?
Yeah, exactly. And so we've all driven by like co-ops or even the concrete plants where they have that rail for where they're loading and unloading rail cars. And they'll have the retractables there, and some of the guys will pull out the cable and take the snap hook it to their ladder, and now that cable is exposed, 1, to the weather, and 2, the spring itself is elongated, so it can develop a memory over time. It doesn't happen. And so most manufacturers, all like for Fall Tech, we always give you a tag, we call a tag line. And so that retractable can go back up there, close, and then you just pull it down, drop the rope to your
Mhm.
feet, and you connect. But guys especially will connect that there, and
Right.
eventually one of these days you're going to
It's gonna be a
disconnect it from the
problem.
ladder. It's just going to swing. It would
Mhm.
still lock up, but it's not going to retract
Mhm.
the way it should.
That's an interesting point, and I'm sure that there are a lot of those things that we could talk about, because I see that all the time, and I probably learned it from you many years ago that you can't leave them stored out. You have to rewind it back into the housing and then retrieve it with the line. And so I've
Mhm.
made a lot of hay off of that, man.
Yep,
They think I know what I'm talking about when I
Yeah.
tell you can't do that. And they will
he's the one who's always broke.
Yeah.
they will take it, they'll pull it out, they'll wrap it around the top rail of a guardrail, then reconnect it to the cable. And
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
can't do. And I see
Yeah.
that a lot. So
Exactly.
one of the things that I think what you two are somewhat alluding to is that where are you going to get this information if you don't belong to a networking organization that is about information? I mean, there are a lot of networking organizations that are just sales things. I've been to a
Yeah.
few of those and I go once and no thank you.
Mhm.
People's
Well-
trying to sell you shit, but where you can go somewhere
You can
and you
read
can
the
get
standards,
you can get
but you won't get, the
Yeah.
words.
you're not
And
going to find this in the OSHA regulations
Right.
until it's adopted, and then even then.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about the ASSP is Doris is always sending out legislative updates.
Yep.
You're bringing in speakers to introduce these standard changes and updates, and they're changing all the time, and they're all out of sync. So it's not like once every 3 years everything changes. All of these different topics and areas are changing continuously. So in the absence of a group, how are you going to be aware? I didn't know about it. When John said we could talk about the new ANSIs, I'm like, the new what? I didn't know that they were
Yep.
changing. So for me, this has been, it's a great benefit.
and that's
So,
one of the benefits of joining the chapter is it makes safety professionals better because it gives them information they need. They may not need it today, but I guarantee you sometime down the road,
right.
they'll say, I remember that. Who can I call and talk to about that?
Exactly.
So,
Well, what else? I know that the chapter does other things. Our friend Beth Phi, who's been part of the chapter for a long time, at one time was kind of like the scholarship chairman.
Right.
There are scholarships and stuff that you guys are doing, and
so
all sorts of different things.
yeah, and those now have gone to national. We have one scholarship, and it's actually gone past. But we had $10,000, a little over $10,000 in our account. National, who manages that for us, said it has to be at least $25,000 for us to continue management. So it's now gone back to the national, but anybody can apply for those scholarships.
And are they specifically to study a safety-related topic, or what are they for?
It could be to complete a degree in safety and allied health. I think Doris Burns used it for getting equipment to do. She did her doctoral thesis on gloves, and she was able to get some equipment with one of the scholarships.
Nice. Yeah,
So-
those are tremendous. I mean, just giving back to the community
Yep.
in some fashion. I love that. Activities, events, information. It seems like there's quite a bit going on.
Right.
Golf now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Golf outings.
Yeah.
Great fundraiser.
Well,
Yeah.
we haven't got to set the date yet, but yeah, it's Doris.
coming.
Doris is and
And I
Rob
love
right on
Omaha
it.
Country Club. Let's do it there. That's a fun place. John, can you make that happen?
I'm just the president.
Awesome. And so what else has been going on? I didn't mention at the beginning that you are a safety manager yourself. You have other responsibilities other than just being the president of the ASSP.
Right. So,
medical center, university.
right. And I just about a year and a half ago resigned as the chair of the LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Committee. I had been on the committee since the start, which is, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. And
for people that don't know what an LEPC is, can you just give us a quick, what's the mission of the LEPC?
Sure. It's a group of people in the community or area that get together to make sure that the community has the plans, the resources to address hazardous material spills. It was really put together after the Bhopal, India deal, so that they want to make sure that people are prepared. So employees have a right to know, community has a right to know what hazards are in a workplace. And so that's one of the things that we work with the Omaha Fire Hazmat. They were on the committee. We had law enforcement. We had some members of some of the committees, and Beth, I think, was on it for a while, had representation. So we want to educate people in the community, at least educate our committee members, and review plans to make sure we have things in place to address those types of events. So,
So this is why this is the EPA's right to know what chemicals are being stored across the street from your house, or those kind of things. So the LEPC is the some those tier 2s and things that companies are filling out that are giving a list of their chemicals on site, or
they go to the state,
being shared with the LEPC.
Yeah, they go to the state, and the state has a repository, and they share those with not only the local fire department. Originally when it came out, it said that companies need to provide safety data sheets for all the hazardous materials in their facility. Well, the problem with that is no fire department has the staffing and resources to do that or handle it. So they more were looking at groups, and now with computers and stuff, it's great because there's all kinds of programs that you can get, and they have gotten through the federal government that will actually do air plumes and to help look at evacuation zones and those types of things. So
risk management planning and all of those evacuation protocols and things. Interesting stuff, man.
So yeah.
And so you're off now?
I'm off. I retired. I have let's say I petered out. I gave them all I could.
You could?
Yeah. So
well, you've given quite a bit, man.
Yeah.
If you've been doing the ASSP, the LEPC, full-time employment, all of those other things.
And then some people may not know what OMERS is. OMERS is the Omaha Medical Metropolitan Response System. And so before 9/11, we were getting together with law enforcement, police, the hospitals, because the hospitals, we thought we weren't prepared, and we truly weren't for something that could happen. So it was really to get a group together to plan on what we need to do or what we need to put together in the community to respond to those types of events. And so I was
as first receivers. I mean, you are the people that are going to be receiving these people that have been involved in an event, perhaps contaminated, possibly.
So, and the other is just even a mass casualty. You may recall there was a bus of high school kids when they were reconstructing Dodge Street way out west. It went over the rail and down. So some of the stuff that we did to prepare for mass casualty events helped coordinate the response with that. There's still kids that died, and the driver died, I think, too, but it helps facilitate and make things smoother. So in the old days, a lot of times they'd load people up, take them to the nearest hospital.
Right.
Well, you can overwhelm a hospital very easily.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that went on with various groups, and we learned a lot. Matter of fact, when Katrina happened, I know I heard you talking about Katrina on one of your broadcasts. OMERS actually went into play with the city because the government was flying people to various cities to move them out of the zone for a while. It was not only the people, but their pets. So we worked with Douglas County Emergency Management and the other group and OMERS, and we set up, so we actually had a response and communication center as that plane was coming in. So we had people at the airport to evaluate them, to make sure they were in good shape, and then turf them off to other places and make sure they had places for their pets. Because that was the one thing they found is people didn't want to evacuate if they had to leave their pets.
I can imagine.
So
yeah. Chuck goes where I go.
Yep. So we had at least Chuck.
I have a picture. I'll show you.
Okay. We had at least 2 planes that came in with people
with pets, and their people and their pets.
Yep.
That's
families
fantastic.
And their pets, so
you have really given a lot to this, man.
It's been fun.
Good for you.
It's been fun. It's coming to an end here, though.
Well, maybe to the extent that you're doing it now, but it doesn't strike me as something you're ever going to give up completely.
My wife always chuckled because I'd go in a restaurant and I'd say, that there was a restaurant one time had helium tank and for blow balloons. And I said, that tank's not restrained. I have to say something to them. Or the exit light over there is out, So yeah, I'm constantly looking around and I totally get it. And I want to share with people too.
I live in a state of paranoia constantly. Now, since people are out to get me, it's not really paranoia, I think, if it's true. But so what about you, man? You travel all the time. You're out there demonstrating. One of the things that I know about you, well, okay, we won't go down that road, but there are a lot of things that I know about you. But one of them is that you must be fearless, man, because I can remember when you were out training the wind turbine guys how to evacuate off of the motor of a wind turbine. If they had a fire or something. So you were out there demonstrating those controlled descent devices that these guys would use to get out of those turbines.
Oh yeah.
And I've been in a turbine once, opened the hatch, wet myself, crawled back down, cried in my car, and then drove home. But you're actually throwing yourself out of these things to demonstrate these descent devices. Describe that for me. Were you a paratrooper in the military? I mean, were you jumping out of
I'm
planes?
airborne air assault.
Okay.
So, and first of all, my heart breaks and thoughts and prayers go out to the soldiers that just perished down there at Fort Campbell. So Fort Campbell is where I went through air assault school. And so that's where, and when you're on a nacelle, it's really controlled. When you have a jump master that's 6'6" and twice your size saying jump, you just go.
You jump, right?
And,
no doubt.
And so, but no, one of the things I like heights. So
they don't bother you, obviously.
They don't bother me. Everybody gets that Virgo here and there, but actually my highest climb is here in Omaha, out there on 72nd with one of the towers out there.
Up north?
Yeah, about 1,500.
Oh, you're making me nauseous just thinking about it, man.
But the controlled descent, what's so funny is we actually work with a group, Clipper Wind. They're no longer, they were out of Cedar Rapids. They were building the nacelles there. And we actually went out to Wyoming to do some training. And they were all like, well, you're the sales guy, you're the trainer, you go first. I went. And
what you were like dropping off of?
Off the nacelle. The nacelle's the top.
The wind turbine?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And so Florida Power and Light's the one who really kind of wrote the specs on rescue. And so if somebody's in a nacelle, you cannot take them down like you said you wet yourself and went down the ladder.
You can't.
Yeah, but you cannot, because it's stagnated and in a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And also if the weather's coming, like with the high winds or something,
mm-hmm.
and you have to get out of there quick, or a fire breaks out, because those can burn down very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We have anchor points there you connect on, and the descent devices will drop you anywhere from 2 to 4 feet per second. And so you just connect, and it's a controlled descent.
And how high are you? How high are those?
325 feet.
325.
Yeah.
So are you getting this, Cam? So 325 feet up on a wind turbine, he connects himself, hopefully, to the descent device and just steps out into nothing.
Yeah, just kind of rappel back,
and then it just lowers you to the ground.
Let go, and it just takes you down. And in a rescue,
do you ever have to check to make sure there's 325 feet of cable in that thing, or
it's always best?
What if they're 275? I mean,
well,
it's that guy that's watching the Super Bowl while he's
knock on wood. I haven't had that,
okay,
but I know a lot of wind people, and I've done those controlled descents. But there are the guys that will actually use our equipment that I call them blade runners, but they're the repair guys,
mm-hmm.
and they actually come out the nose cone of these nacelles, and then they slide down. And if lightning strikes or wind damages it, because most of those blades are like a balsa wood,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll actually go out there and do repairs while they're hanging.
So they can stop it somehow?
Oh, yeah. So just like a window washer almost.
You can just descend and then stop, work, descend, and then they have to go all the way to, can they go back up?
Yep. Well, like with
do they have a retrieval option? Or
with the unit that we give them, we actually can use, they'll carry a drill with them. They can actually put that drill in there and raise them,
and then raise themselves. Oh my God, man.
And so we use them in confined space, but for like a wind turbine, when they come over, and actually in the wind industry, if you would have a heart attack or we have to do a rescue, I can't just connect you and throw you over the side and let you go down. You actually have to have
thank you.
You have to have a rescuer or attendee.
You have to have a plan, certainly.
Yeah. Well, so it's two. So I would go down with you.
Okay.
And so it's usually 2 people going down.
So it's capable of suspending 1,000 pounds or whatever that.
It's like 660 pounds, I think, is what ours is rated at.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not fall protection, but it's designed for 2 workers.
Right. It's not arresting a fall.
Yep.
It just slowly makes that descent.
And they make them anywhere from 325, 300-400 feet long, up to 1,700 feet long.
Wow.
So
for coming off a tower or something, maybe?
Yep.
Sounds better than bungee jumping.
Oh, that too. Have you done that?
No.
No, I don't do those things.
I'm a safety guy, and I don't want to put myself at risk.
I totally agree. None of those things appeal to me.
No, I'd be the one that the thing would break, right?
It would be the time.
Exactly.
1 in a million. That's me.
Yep.
Exactly.
I can't win the lottery, but damn it, I can pick the one thing that breaks it.
Yep.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So this fall protection thing is okay for you. You don't.
I found a niche I like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Again, nobody likes wearing fall protection, but we know every night, and as safety people, I want to go home and sleep. And like the manufacturer I work for, I know we put our users' best interest ahead of
Mhm.
everything else. And but I've always liked kites and love the equipment. I've been involved in helping design some of it. I'm not an engineer, but I'm an idea guy.
You're a user.
I'm a user,
You know how it works.
and one of our engineers worked for a few other manufacturers, just a brilliant mind. And I call him up and, what about this and what about that? He goes, I make that work.
Mhm.
And then again, we have a bunch of great engineers at Fall Tech, and with having our own facility where we manufacture and tool stuff, that we're able to create new products out there.
Well, that brings us to an interesting point, because I know I work with a lot of companies that have done an evaluation of a hazard, and how are they going to control that? If it's a fall hazard, we've done our evaluation. Of course, this was in 1997. They've done their evaluation. We've come to the we believe there's no feasible abatement for this, and so we just let our guys run around up there, whatever. The product lines change all the time, based on a need that's been identified. So if you have fall protection challenges in your work environment and you've done an assessment 10, 15 years ago, don't rest on that, because there is a product that will typically work for you now, right? I mean, this is always changing.
Well, what's funny is when we go into a client, everybody thinks, well, we're there to sell fall protection.
Right.
There's a hierarchy of fall protection. If we can engineer out the hazard itself, put guardrails up, let's do that. And I've walked away from many accounts, and they're like, so you don't want to sell us fall protection? I can. I'm here to take a PO right now. Let's go. But no, it's keeping our workers safe.
But if it's not the right solution, why would I?
Solution. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are, in fall protection, it's not always just off the shelf. So and a lot of our products are created by our end users because of that need. And just kind of one of the case in points is with this new standard, for many, many years, every manufacturer has tried to create a web that would meet the new standard, especially so that cable, when it has to go across that blade. So with the webbing, everybody's tried Dyneema and some other mixtures
for the cut resistant
fibers, and we're actually the first one to successfully do that. And so we don't call it a web; it's a synthetic cable.
Okay,
but it's got 12 strands of Kevlar through there, wrapped in a Dyneema webbing with Kevlar stitching. And it's actually 3 times lighter than a 3/16 cable.
Wow,
and that's
interesting.
And so it's the first, but it's about 4.5 to 6 pounds, depending on the manufacturer we're competing against, versus a steel cable. And a lot of people wonder why, if you look at ANSI standards, it says 130 to 310. That's what the ANSI standard test criteria has been. They haven't changed that. Well, if you look at our harnesses and a lot of our retractables now, they'll say 420 and 425. Well, OSHA, if they come on, they don't follow the ANSI. They say go to the manufacturer. Well, if you look at some of our iron workers out there, especially, they can be 275 to 300 pounds, big beefy people. Then they put 100 pounds
plus tools.
Put 100 pounds of bolts and spud wrenches and all that on them. They're close to that 400 pounds right away. And so it's not out of the common to have that.
Right.
And so, but with this new synthetic cable, we're able to take 4.5 pounds out, and every ounce you can take off of them gives them more longevity in the job that they're doing.
Absolutely.
And one of the things about we talked about going into plants, all the job sites I get to visit, I always learn something. And my respect for the workers doing what they're doing, whether it be at a slaughtering plant, or building a bridge, or like when we did the first national down there.
That was awesome.
Yep. And, one of our good friends that, God rest his soul, David Soul.
David,
great friend of mine. But, you always learn something. And, but the people that have to wear this equipment, nobody likes to wear it. And so as a manufacturer, our mission and our end goal is to make it as light as possible.
Yeah.
But we in the
Well, they have certainly come a long way. The harnesses themselves are
Oh, yeah.
much more comfortable.
Yeah.
They're padded, they flex, they move. That stuff that we used to use back in the 80s and 90s was just rigid and uncomfortable and unpleasant. So,
And then,
I mean,
if you fell, you actually had some injuries.
yeah, it
but
hurt.
you didn't. But you didn't die.
You didn't die. Okay, great. Yeah, I've broken my back, but I
Yeah.
didn't die.
exactly.
But so you talk about people don't like wearing it. I get people just don't like complying with anything, truthfully.
Right.
But the equipment is so much better now,
Yep.
so much more comfortable, lighter, more versatile. So I don't know that they hate it as much as you. As they just don't like you, probably as well.
Oh no, no. Just like John, he's like, Rob, that was a great presentation. I still don't want to wear this.
Right, I'm not wearing that shit. But yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. I think that's just to some degree human nature, just our little inherent recalcitrance, man. We don't want to follow rules or whatever. But as you said, nobody that's ever fallen and been saved by a fall protection system has complained about it.
No.
You know, I mean, and that's not a terribly unusual occurrence.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yep.
And I think guys get saved so much more often now than they used to. That the industry and the safety professionals that are promoting this stuff.
And you don't hear about the guy that fell and the restraint system saved him. You hear about the guy that fell to his death
That's
or got
exactly
seriously injured.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
So-
yeah, it's really come a long way, man.
Yeah. We tell all of our clients, we want to know if there's a fall, let us know. And we want their story.
Absolutely.
You know, what was it like? 99% of the time is I was working, I was hanging. You know, what happened in between? Well, it's that quick.
Yeah.
But you know, that's how we improve on things and what can we do
Right.
differently. And again, it's no different than any other piece of safety equipment, but
Right.
other than this, one fall could be it.
Right.
And for guys, when we were created, our center of gravity is our shoulders and our heads. People don't understand that, and we're human darts.
Yes.
And
The other thing that I learned too is the industry now is making devices that accommodate a woman's body too.
Yes.
And before we put them in the same thing as we had,
Mhm.
and it was like, yeah. So
funny
Good
you
one.
say that. We actually have a new harness that's designed for women, and the workforce in the construction trade, especially, and in some of our facilities, had a lot. There's a big influx of ladies coming in there.
Mhm.
And when I say that, I'm talking about women that turn wrenches, and especially in the iron workers. And so we actually did a study with over 200 women, and from the women in construction, the women in tower, which is NATE, the
Mhm,
National
NATE,
Association of Tower Erectors, and again, being guys, we think, you know, crossover harnesses. We think, you know, they want them in pink. Oh no, they want that harness to look just like everybody else's.
Right.
And there's just a few small details that we changed. And believe it or not, I have many men wearing what we call the women's harness, and you can look at it and you can't tell the difference. But
Mhm. It just fits a little bit differently, perhaps, or
it
adjusts a little bit differently.
it's
maybe.
really designed and influenced for the ladies in the
Mhm.
workforce.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I really appreciate when I roll onto sites now and I see a little bit more gender diversity. And I don't want to be that guy, but I
Mhm.
mean, I just like, I mean, these are jobs that traditionally were not necessarily attractive to women, but they're great jobs, great paying jobs. They're fulfilling jobs. You feel, accomplishment type jobs. Not like what I do, walk around and say that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. There's
Yeah.
not quite as much, but I think that's terrific that the industries that support these people are accommodating their individual needs, and that's
Right.
really important.
Yep.
I have really enjoyed this, and it's not just it's just coffee, I swear. So and so when you guys contacted me about doing some promotions for the ASSP, I am a true believer in networking and humility, knowing that I know that I don't know things, and having a network of people like the two of you that I can call and will probably right afterwards for help is, I mean, it's so critical to what we do.
Yes.
Knowing that you don't know everything, but knowing who to call is everything in this business.
Mhm.
And so I'm thrilled that we're having the ASSP on. I hope everybody, if you don't join today, I hope you at least go to the website, which is
Great Plains, all one word, all spelled out, .ASSP.org.
.org. Go to the website, check it out. It's a fantastic website, lots of information, great people. There are pictures of all the officers. I count many of them as my friends, which I appreciate. And I hope that I see somebody at a meeting in the near
Yeah,
future,
yeah.
myself included.
We'd love to have you again, because again, we can learn from you, even though you're old, just like me.
Right.
You have some knowledge to impart. So.
Yeah, if I can occasionally, I'm lucid enough to share some of my experiences or something.
Yeah.
But I think this is fantastic. I appreciate both of you taking the time to be here. I know you're off to somewhere. Got somewhere to go, somewhere exciting. Did you notice this tan? I don't know if anybody's still
You got to
listening.
shovel snow in Duluth again?
No, I'm going the other way.
You're going.
My
yeah.
sister's getting married. I'm
Are you leaving today?
No, in April 12th.
Oh, you got a couple days. Okay.
Yeah, we're going down to Mexico. I haven't taken a vacation for a few years, so we're going down there.
Oh,
So how did you get your tan so far then?
Well, I'm funny that.
You're doing some pre-tanning, some preparation. For
I was down in Orlando, and I had to go down there for the National Association of Tower Records.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Tough work.
And it was 80-some degrees, and I got down there, got set up. I was like, I was down there by myself. I didn't have a big group working with me. So I was like, I'm going golfing.
I'm going golfing.
Teed them up.
Do you travel with your clubs then, or do you just like rent clubs at the course? Or?
Down there I rented in like Mexico. But, a lot of times people will call me, hey, I need to have you come out and do this job site. And I was like, okay, well, we need samples or we need this. I got my golf clubs with me. I'll send you samples.
Right, exactly. Right. No doubt. They'll come in the mail. The golf clubs stay with me.
Exactly.
Not letting those out of my sight. Oh, I love that. And I look forward to one day retiring and coming to work with you, because other than that jumping out of the turbine thing,
it's all or nothing.
Yeah, you have to do it once.
Oh, you have to do it. I'm out. Okay. I'm coming to work with you in retirement. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yes.
ASSP, check it out. Go to the website. Call one of the members. Come to a meeting. Come to a meeting and sit in on a meeting and see if you like it. Meet some people and then decide. I don't care how you do it, but I think our goal is to increase membership by 50%, 100%.
If we can do a couple, that would be great. But if we can get some more people involved to help better them and help improve the job safety in their environment. I think
ultimately, that's the goal, right?
Yep.
John, Rob, thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Rest a little bit if you have that opportunity, and then get back at it next week. The mission is worth doing, so keep it up. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.